One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Michael Bonner with the Clarion-Ledger down in Mississippi is with One Question again. And Michael, you were on One Question about 3 weeks ago, soon after the announcement came out that Scott Strickland was headed to Florida. And we talked a bit about where the Mississippi State AD search was going. Subsequently, 13, 14 days ago, you reported that it was going to be John Cohen as the Bulldogs' new AD. That officially has not happened yet. And of course, the university came out soon after your report and basically said, this isn't true yet. We are not going to let this play out in the media. We're going to follow our plan. And I think I'm quoting here a little bit. This will be done in an expeditious timeline, but on our timeline. So when you come out with your report and the university immediately refutes it, what's your frame of mind? What are you sticking to today? And where does this thing potentially end here in the near future?
Yeah, I think when Mississippi State released their statement, it's just from my perspective, I have to understand where they're coming from. And I think they've understood where I'm coming from as well, that I have a job to do. They have a job to do. They have to protect what they're doing, and it's kind of two separate things. It's really a weird line that we walk because 99.9% of the time we're working together in the sense that if I need a player or I need a coach, I go through them, and if they need some promotion, they give me story ideas or tips of, hey, this Richie Brown, a linebacker, was moved from Katrina, and it was a good story and helped both parties. But there are some circumstances where a couple of weeks ago, as you mentioned, where we're on opposite sides, and that's, I think, what you're seeing now is, from everything that I've heard, that I ruined a surprise that they had lined up, and that hasn't sat well with Mississippi State, and that John Cohen being the next athletic director at Mississippi State, it ruined basically their surprise party. And I think after that, there's been some discussion as to what to do next. Nothing that I've heard is changing that no one has told me that, they're changing their mind completely, but I do think they're revisiting the idea a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, every single person I've talked to says it's still him. It hasn't changed enough. Now, again, it's still a fluid situation a little bit where it seems they're still discussing it, but as it goes on, it seemingly thinks you would think that the longer it goes on, the more it favors John Cohen because he has to coach there at the very least. He's still an employee there, and he has recruits he needs to sign upcoming in the early signing period for baseball. So if he wasn't the guy, a simple, hey, John, you know what, we appreciate what you've done here. You've been a great person. You're one of the most respected people on campus here, but, we're going to go somewhere else. So take care of your business and lock down your recruits and move on. They haven't done that. So again, all signs still point to John Cohen. We still stand by our report until, otherwise.
When you released your report, did you have the expectation that the university would come with this sharp of a response, or was that a bit out of the blue for you?
That was really out of the blue. I thought maybe they would just send out a couple of lines saying, the search is ongoing. We haven't decided on the candidate yet. But it was, I think, as you said, it was quite a few paragraphs, and the university's communications director went on a few radio stations as well. So I wasn't surprised with the overall message, but the length of the messages certainly. But as I said, they have jobs to do. I have jobs to do, and they can go about their job however they please. And, I have a job to do with editors, and I'll do the same thing. And it's as I said, 99% of the time, we're basically on the same page. It's just in these circumstances where you're at opposite ends of the spectrum.
If John Cohen does indeed end up being Mississippi State's next AD, will you feel vindicated? How will you feel if John Cohen ends up being named? We end up in the same place. I mean, how's that going to make you feel?
Obviously good, because anytime you get a story correct like this, it feels good when you're first. At the same time, many people have asked me that question, and I won't be, spiking the football or dancing in the end zone or anything. I don't think that's a journalist's job, is to make the story about themselves. So the story is John Cohen, Mississippi State. I'm just trying to report what's going on. So for me to insert myself in the story and make a big deal out of it, I'll try to avoid that because I don't think that's my place.
Are you concerned that this sequence of reports has compromised your relationship with the university moving forward, whether it's Cohen or not?
Not at all. As we said, the report was out a couple weeks ago, and nothing has really changed with me within the university. I haven't felt any different. I haven't seen anything different going on. So, and that's why I said it. And in the long grand scheme of things, we were on different sides a couple weeks ago, but since that point, I really haven't been treated any differently by the university since.
So let's hit on one other thing, and that is Scott Strickland just penned a goodbye letter, if you will, to the Mississippi State family that he released yesterday. Any residue left from Scott's tenure that you think would be most difficult for John or whomever the new AD is to overcome?
I think that's one of the reasons John would be a great fit or a great replacement for Mississippi State is because just the connection with fans and the connection with Mississippi State and knowing Mississippi State, kind of that Mississippi State man type of attitude that some programs have, where he's not just an athletic director, he's a fan, he's a part of the community, he's a part of what Mississippi State calls their family. And that was something that Scott Strickland was very, very good at, and I think a key for a replacement, and John Cohen checks all those boxes off as well, being a former player at Mississippi State and then now a coach at Mississippi State, bringing championships to Mississippi State. So I think that's something where when you look across the candidates, John Cohen's the only one that checks off that box, which is what made Strickland so good for this job, was the fans really, really connected with him, which I'm not sure in other conferences or other schools it really happens, because it's kind of an AD and they're off in the sunset, and the coaches, the connections between coaches. So I think that's something that Strickland did really well and be difficult for the replacement.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.